So, in our daily work, there are many tasks that require us to operate a browser. For example, some people need to download reports from their company's own ERP system, or they need to log in to a client's website to retrieve certain information. These repetitive tasks can actually be handled by an AI agent. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to use a lesser-known feature of Manus, which is to control your browser to perform these tasks. Here, I'll demonstrate how to go to this website to download some data. For example, some investment institutions need to wait until a company has released its earnings before downloading certain information. Let's say, for instance, Tesla has just released its earnings. They would need to go to this website, search for Tesla, and once they reach this page, they need to download an Excel file. On the page, they need to click this button, and then they'll see the Excel button, which they can click. After that, they can proceed to download the file. Now imagine if they need to download data for many companies like Tesla, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and so on. If you ask someone to do this manually, it would be very time consuming. So next, let's try using Manus to control the browser to perform this task. Of course, the clearer the information you provide, the better its execution will be. So you can teach Manus how to do it. For example, here, I first enter Tesla, and then I take a screenshot. After that, I copy this image and give it to Manus, and then I teach it how to proceed to the next step. Here, I teach it that this button needs to be switched to off, and then I give it another screenshot. Finally, it's about downloading this Excel file. Now, before you want to automate these operations, you first need to do a trial run to see if Manus can actually do it. Here, it's like teaching a new colleague how to do something. You need to provide all the necessary information. So here, I give it the website link. Then I tell it to go to this website and search for Tesla. Your ultimate goal is to download this Excel sheet. I also attach some screenshots so you can follow the steps one by one. Now, to perform this step, you need to enable the My Browser function so that it can control your browser. In Manus, there are two ways to control the browser. The first is to control My Browser. The second method is for it to use its own computer to control its own browser. For this task, it's actually fine to use its own computer, because downloading this data doesn't require logging in. On the right side of the screen, you can see that it's now following my instructions and entering Tesla, since I provided. If you provide screenshots, it will be faster, because if you don't give it any references and just let it fumble around on its own, it will waste a lot of time and credits. It's actually the same as training a colleague. If the information you give your colleague isn't clear, they'll just do things their own way. Now, it has successfully entered the second page. In the second step, it seems to have encountered some difficulties. When it clicked the mouse, the button didn't seem to respond. So, everyone should remember this. Humans and when AI tries to click on the computer, its approach is actually quite different. In Manus, there are mainly two methods. The first method is to keep taking screenshots and then look for the XY coordinates. If the first method doesn't work, it will use the second method, which is to try to find the button at the code level and click it there. Here, you can see that when the first method fails, it switches to the second method. You'll notice it tries to find it programmatically. On the right side is the computer, and it records everything it does at each step, as well as what it has tried. Some methods work and some don't. Now, it has successfully reached the final step, which is clicking the Excel button. It seems like it has downloaded the file, so it checks its own computer's download folder to see if the file is really there. It says it has confirmed that the file has been successfully downloaded. Here, it has downloaded the file, but when it checks the file, it says the file size is 0. What does that mean? After downloading, the file is basically empty, so they try to check it again. So next they try to use a second method to download the file. Now they're checking whether the file size is still 0, right? This time when they open it up to take a look, they say they can see there are 530 rows of data, which means the download was successful. Then in the chat they sent this file to me. It took about 7 to 8 minutes and used up 175 credits. But here I want to emphasize that you'll notice during the process, because they encountered two problems and tried different methods, they ended up using more credits and spending more time. Now, moving on, actually, we can create a skill. If you haven't watched the previous videos, a skill is basically a standard operating procedure. That means once you set up this skill, it won't make the same mistakes again. It will directly use the successful method from earlier to download this Excel file. So the process will be faster and use fewer credits. And after this test is completed, we can schedule a task, for example, have it check every day whether this company has released its financial results. If it has, then it will go and download them, and so on. Now, what I just showed was a simple demonstration. In theory, as long as your work requires you to regularly go to certain websites to fill out forms, extract some data, or download files, you can actually use this function to do so. If you want to learn more in depth about using these AI agent tools, you're welcome to join our upcoming workshop on Saturday, May 2nd. So what will we cover in this workshop? We'll go into detail about all the features and how to efficiently build a skill, which is basically the SOP I just mentioned. And on the morning of the previous day, May 1st, there will be an AI full funeral marketing course. This is targeted at Hong Kong's B2C service industry. If you have previously attended any of our 3-hour or longer sessions, students of the course can also receive a $300 discount on registration. Feel free to message us on Facebook for inquiries. If you want to learn more about the course content, just click the link below the video. See you in the next video.